Hey, y'all, welcome in. I plan to come on here with very festive attire. It's going to talk about how great the Saints' chances are to fight into the playoffs. But instead, I'm here with a ho, 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 holy hell. There's another Saints starting quarterback in line to play. It's that guy right behind me. It's right there. That's Ian Book. Looks like he'll be your Saints starting quarterback for week 16 after Taysom Hill and Trevor Siemian landed on the COVID list. That is news coming out today. And let's react to it. My name is Jeff Nowak, WWL digital sports producer, and this is your Week 16 fall football preview brought to you by the Louisiana Office of Tourism. Get together in Louisiana and visit louisianahomecoming.com for more information. And as always, we're going to preview all the action coming to WWL Radio AM 870 FM 105.3 this week. We have 3 NFL games to go through, but of course, we're going to spend most of our time talking about Saints-Dolphins. And what I had wanted to talk about was a lot of the changes that have come through in the last week or so to set up the Saints for a potential run to the playoffs. They lost 5 straight games. They seemed like they were dead in the water. And all of a sudden, a 9-0 shutout of the Bucs, and everything seems rosy again. Everything seems like it is getting back on track. Well, not so fast. Trevor Siemian was reportedly headed to the COVID list this morning. There was a report from NOAA.com. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero reported that Taysom Hill was joining him on that list. Well, that means there's only one active quarterback left on the Saints roster, and it's that guy right behind me peeking out over my shoulder. That's rookie Ian Book. He's in line to get the start in Week 16 against the Miami Dolphins, another team that suffered a long losing streak and has turned it around. Theirs was worse. They lost 7 consecutive games, started 1-7. They've won 6 straight. They're heading into the Caesars Superdome as hot as any team in the NFL, and the Saints get to face them with a rookie quarterback. Not exactly what you want. But what I will say, there's reason to believe that you can put Ian Book in there, you can coach him up, make sure he plays smart, make sure he doesn't turn the ball over, make sure he doesn't take unnecessary risks with the ball, and operate very similarly to how you did with Taysom Hill. I mean, what you were asking Taysom Hill to do was play smart, pick up yards where you could get them. Don't take unnecessary risks with the ball, especially when you're playing with the lead, which the Saints were, and that's how that worked out. It's a lot of people are very critical of Taysom Hill's performance, and I'm not sure I buy that so much as he's running the offense that he was asked to run. That he did his job, which was what the Saints needed him to do to win that game. And whether you want to question some of the throws he made, he missed a couple throws, he left some balls behind receivers that probably could have, maybe picked up a first down or gotten close to it. He did the important part of his job, which was keep the Saints in position to hold that lead and defend it. He pinned the Saints to the lead with a couple really nice throws to Marquez Callaway, the drives that ended in field goals. And then he made sure that the defense had the chance to protect it, and they did. Right? The game could have changed if, the Saints turned the ball over, set up the Bucs in scoring range. If the Bucs make that field goal before halftime, things might have looked a little differently, but they didn't. And what you can say about Taysom Hill is he's willing to do what the offense needs him to do in order to win games. And one of those things is being smart with the ball. Now, can Ian Book do that? I believe he can. He's a smart quarterback. I think that he came into the league more game ready than a lot of rookies might, just because of how long his career at Notre Dame was and how many wins he was a participant in. He understands how to win football games, and that's going to be important because what the Saints are going to need him to do, knowing full well that your defense is actually not impacted by COVID at this point. That could change, but at this point they are not. And if he can do that, the Saints have a chance to win. If he goes out there and plays like his head is on fire and turns the ball over, he takes forever in the pocket, he holds on to the ball too long. Keep in mind, we still don't know the status of Teron Armstead and Ryan Ramczyk this week. So he could be going into his first career NFL start with no starting left tackle, no starting right tackle, and no starting left guard. That's not what you want. It's not how you want to play your first NFL game, but that's what the Saints are going to need him to do, and that's what he's going to have to do. So the question is, can he avoid turnovers? And that's what you're going to want to see from him. You don't need to see him bomb it downfield. I think he's got slightly better arm talent than Taysom Hill, and you might be able to do some different things in the passing game. But what Saints need to do is understand, and they do, how they're going to have to win this game. And that's going to be on defense. It's going to be with ball control, and that's going to be playing smart, turnover-free football. Can they do that? That's the other question. But we're going to talk about what I decided to come on here with and why I'm wearing a Santa hat, other than the fact that it's Christmas in 2 days. And that's the fact that the Saints are right in the mix for the playoffs. They are currently in the 9 seed. They're 7-7. They're facing another 7-7 team who has much longer odds in the AFC than the teams that are 7-7 in the NFC. But even though the Saints are 2 spots out of that final wild card, they are in very good position while not controlling their own destiny. There are 3 teams you have to really watch closely, and those are the other 2 teams at 7-7, and that's the Vikings, who are currently in that final playoff spot, and then you have the Eagles, who are a game out. Now, if you remember, the Saints lost to the Eagles, so the Saints do not want to end up in a head-to-head tie with the Eagles. But in a 3-way tiebreak, things change drastically, and the Saints actually have a really good shot. They end up in a 3-way tie, and that includes the 49ers, who are currently at 87 and are one of the games we're going to talk about in the back half here. We need to keep in mind NFC record, common games, strength of victory. Now, the Saints are a game behind the 49ers, who play the Titans on Thursday Night Football. The Saints really need the 49ers to drop another game. That way, if the Saints win out, they are actually in. If the 49ers drop another game, assuming that loss comes to the Titans or the Rams, that's this week and then week 18, and the Saints win out, now you need a loss from the Eagles or the Vikings somewhere. If the Eagles win out and the 49ers drop back, the Saints can get in. Because there's 2 spots instead of 1. The Eagles would actually take it over the 49ers, and the Saints would slot in behind that. And if the Vikings win out and the 49ers come back, you're in the same boat. So while you want to look at those 7-7 teams, it's actually the 8-6 team that you need to drop back. Now, if the Saints lose a game, really has to come to the Dolphins, because that's an AFC matchup and they need to maintain their NFC record. So in any scenario where the Saints finish the final 3 games at 2-1, those 2 wins have to be week 17 to week 18. Now your odds go down drastically if you don't finish 10-7, if you finish at 9-8, and if you finish at 8-9, there's still a chance, but it's a long shot. And if you can't win 2 out of 3 games against the Panthers, Falcons, and Dolphins, you probably don't deserve to be in the playoffs anyway. So we won't go too much into that. But keep in mind, if the Saints do lose this game to the Dolphins, it is not over, because it's an AFC matchup and those NFC tiebreakers are so important, but it will require the Eagles and the Vikings to lose a game. So those are the 4 teams that you really need to be watching closely. Obviously the Saints, then the 49ers, then the Vikings, then the Eagles. And I put up a post on odyssey.com/WWL. I can link it in the description so you can go take a look at it. Kind of broke down a lot of the scenarios. And the Saints are in good position. They just don't control their own destiny yet. And that can change with this matchup, depending on what happens elsewhere. And that could start tonight. But we're going to start with the Dolphins and Saints here. Okay, so if it's Ian Book, the good news, the defense appears intact. Adam Troutman and Juwan Johnson, 2 tight ends, are also both on the COVID list. Sean Payton is still on the COVID list. He has not returned yet, but the team had expressed hope that he could return in time for this game. Still a few more days. You get the extra day heading into the Monday Night Football so that you could potentially get him back on Saturday or Sunday and still be ready to go. But there's obviously a lot of questions. And now you're looking at a Dolphins team that is about as hot as anyone. Jalen Waddle has had a coming out party this season. Tua Tagovailoa has had a really good sophomore season. Now, it's difficult to really get too excited about what Tua has done because they have not opened up the offense at all. The offense the Dolphins are running is honestly very similar to the 39 to 40-year-old Drew Brees offense, where he's not throwing the ball downfield. You're trying to pepper the ball within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. He's going to complete a high percentage of his passes, but there's not going to be a ton of yards to be had. It's going to be on the defense to come up and tackle. It's going to be on the defense to play, press, and to make those short completions difficult. Make Tua second guess what he wants to do, and the Saints have a chance. But, if they can't play turnover-free football on offense, they're going to have to create takeaways on defense. And that's difficult to do against a team, like I said, does not push the ball downfield. So that's what you're going to be looking for. Saints today are currently 3.5-point favorites. I expect that number to go down. But I still think this is a game the Saints are going to figure out. I don't think that putting Ian Book in there changes the dynamics for you that much on offense beyond you lose the ability to confidently run the quarterback. And what I say by that is, not scrambles. I think scrambles are still going to be part of the game plan, but you lose the ability to really dial up quarterback runs. And that's not even to say Ian Book can't do that. It's to say you have no depth behind him at all. Even I fully expect the Saints to sign an emergency quarterback, but whoever that is, and we don't know who it is, whoever that is won't have any idea what the playbook is. He's going to get the playbook, maybe tomorrow, if they sign a guy tomorrow, just to have a backup. So it's not Alvin Kamara waiting to see if he has to go in because he was the emergency quarterback in week 8 without Taysom Hill. You're going to have to sign somebody who can capably throw a ball, but that is an emergency. That person will not know the playbook. That person getting into the game is a last resort. And even then, you'd have to consider maybe Alvin Kamara gives us the best chance to win at quarterback of just running Wildcat and whatever you can do. But so you can't justifiably send Ian Book on plays that are going to get him hit, knowing that you have no depth behind him. It's just not something you can do. And that's going to change the calculus a bit for the Saints. So they're going to have to find ways to create in the passing game. And you don't know if you're going to have Adam Troutman or Juwan Johnson. You don't know if you're going to have little Jordan Humphrey. It's a lot of questions. But the good news is the Saints, as we have said, are a defensive team. And that's just what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to find a way to generate points. Hopefully Brett Maher can continue to kick well, and the Saints give themselves a chance to win another close defensive slugfest. Okay. As we all know, this is the Week 16 Fall Football Preview, again, brought to you by the Louisiana Office of Tourism. Get together in Louisiana and check out louisianahomecoming.com for more information. So let's go into the other two matchups coming to WWL Radio this week. That's WWL AM 870 FM 105.3. And the first one's coming at you just in a couple hours from when this video posts. That's going to be a huge game, like I said earlier, to talk about the Saints' playoff chances. And that is the 49ers, the 8-6, third in the NFC West, currently the 6th seed in the NFC playoff bracket, against the Titans at Nissan Stadium. Titans are 9-5, first in the AFC South. They obviously still don't have Derrick Henry. They are going the wrong direction at this point in the season. And, that's good for the 49ers. It's not good for the Saints. It's not good for a Saints team that needs the 49ers to lose a game. This is a game you look at on the schedule and say, man, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the one. Maybe this is where the 49ers fall back to the pack. But I don't know how you confidently say that with the way the 49ers have been playing versus the way the Titans have been playing. And, maybe this is the game, but, at Thursday Night Football, weird things happen. And the Saints need to really become Titans fans. And one of the reasons that the Titans are important is because when you look at those tiebreakers, one of the common games the Saints are going to end up having with the 49ers is the Titans. And even though the Saints lost that matchup, it's still a common game. And the 49ers losing that matchup puts the Saints one game ahead, needing a win over the Falcons in Week 18 to secure that common games tiebreaker, if it gets to that. Now, it's really not as big of a deal as it could be, because if the Titans lose a game anywhere, they're going to drop back. And the second most likely game they could lose is Week 18 against the Rams. And if they lose that game, then the Saints will take over the NFC conference tiebreaker should they win their final two games. So one way or another, if the 49ers lose in Week 16 or Week 18, the Saints would leapfrog them. It gets a little more complicated if the 49ers lose to the Texans in Week 17, which is obviously unlikely. But it's not a common game, and it is an AFC matchup. So it really doesn't do a ton for the Saints in the tiebreaker department. So you really want to look at those two games. But that's the game. That's going to be Thursday Night Football on the NFL Network. You can listen on WWL Radio AM 870 FM 105.3. Again, that's going to be at Nissan Stadium. That is the Titans' home stadium. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Nashville landscape, the betting line is Titans +2. So the 49ers are going in there as favorites. Jimmy Garoppolo has been playing well. Nick Bosa has been playing incredibly well. The 49ers will not have Eli Mitchell. So they're dealing with their own stuff. He's still handling a concussion. He's missed the last 3 games. And so it's going to be a very interesting game to watch. And it's going to be a very clear rooting interest favorite for the Titans to win that game. So that's what I would be watching if I were you. And make sure you are not rooting for the 49ers because you want to make sure that when you're happy at the end of it, you're happy for the right reasons. All right, moving on. The final game we're going to talk about, Sunday Night Football. You got the Washington football team at the Dallas Cowboys. Washington 6-8, third in the NFC East. They're a game out of that 7-7 group, but they're still right there. And if you look at the group that is sitting at 7-7. There is no reason to project that these three teams can't find a way to lose one of their final three games among them. There's no reason to think that all three of these teams are going to finish 10-7. It's probably more likely that two or more of them finish at 9-8. So if one of the teams goes 10-7, that is a huge difference. The Eagles obviously have the easiest schedule remaining, but Washington is one of those teams. The Eagles have to play Washington at home. So you really want to see Washington win this game, keep touch so that that game against the Eagles has as much pressure on it as possible. You don't want to see the Washington fall back and be out of the running. And it kind of lose that edge for a matchup that the Saints really want Washington to win. And we're looking at this completely from a Saints perspective. But Washington does get Taylor Heineke back. They still have Antonio Gibson. They have a really good defense. They're a solid team. I don't know if they're going to be able to go into AT&T Stadium and pull out a win. They're 5-point underdogs, but, rooting for a team is just rooting for a team. And that's what the Saints are going to want to do. Again, you can listen to that on Sunday night at 7:20 p.m. Broadcast on NBC, but it's going to be WWL AM 870 FM 105.3 to follow along with the call. And that's going to be the final game of the week for our fall football preview, brought to you by the Louisiana Office of Tourism. Get together in Louisiana and visit louisianahomecoming.com. My name is Jeff Nowak, WWL Radio digital sports producer. Thank you for everybody who checked in on these, who likes to follow along. I always appreciate it. We passed 3,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel this week. It's exciting. When I took this channel over in the preseason, we only had about 500. So that's a big jump. And I appreciate everyone who's helped kind of build that audience. I hope y'all are appreciating the content we're putting out. If you are, let me know what you like. Let me know what you don't like. If you aren't, let me know anyway, because I want to be able to tell you you're wrong. Just kidding. Pressure makes diamonds, right? Anyway, again, my name is Jeff Nowak. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeff_Nowak. Make sure to check out Odyssey.com/WWL for the latest Saints news and updates, the latest news and updates across New Orleans and Louisiana. Make sure to follow us on YouTube if you were watching there. Thank you. Make sure to subscribe. If you're watching elsewhere, there's the channel. Go check it out. Always good stuff. Daily video updates, Bobby's latest rant, all the good stuff. Make sure to follow all of our social channels, Facebook, Twitter. That's at WWLAMFM, obviously YouTube, Instagram. And make sure to download the Odyssey app so you can follow along Sports Talk 4 to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday and all the great stuff we have coming to you throughout the week. So again, my name is Jeff Nowak. This is the Fall Football Preview brought to you by Louisiana Office of Tourism. Thanks for watching, and hey, we're turning the page. It's a new chapter. There's a lot of book puns. Get ready for them. All right, y'all. Be easy. Peace.